Well, welcome everyone. My name is Ian Scarfe. I'm the director of the Trinity Alps Chamber Music Festival. And today we are doing another one of our digital concerts, one of the programs that we are offering now in 2020. I'm just so moved and grateful that these have found the success that they have. Not just that we're developing audiences and finding ways to share music in these challenging times, but also that we are finding ways to feature so many different musicians from around the world. As most of you know, the arts and musicians in particular have had a very challenging year as our careers are changing and in such dramatic ways. And so it really warms my heart that we're able to feature so many musicians and so many musicians from around the world. Today is a great example of that. On today's program, the bulk of the musical selections will be performed by my colleagues who are coming to us live from Frankfurt, Germany. That is waving at us, Sam Levine. Cheers, Sam. And his colleague, pianist Takeshi Moriuchi. Hello, Takeshi. Sam is a friend of mine from at least 10 years back. He and I collaborated on some projects here in the San Francisco Bay Area, including a very memorable exploration of Franz Schubert's great song cycle, Winterreise. That was a great experience, and I remember it fondly. But Sam's career has taken several leaps and bounds in the ensuing years. And I'm just so grateful to have him here performing with us today. Just as a reminder, if you'd like to know more about upcoming programs, the Trinity Alps Chamber Music Festival has a website where you can find out more. We have 4 programs actually in November featuring musicians from around the United States and several other performers in Europe as well. So please check those out if you would. Now, without further ado, Sam, I would like to turn it over to you and ask you to introduce yourself a little more thoroughly, and your colleague as well. You know, normally people would go to a recital program, they would get a printed document that has all of the music and program notes and biographies of the players. But since we have no such thing, I'm going to ask if you would fill us in yourself, please.
Hi everybody. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Sam Levine. I'm a tenor. I'm an American living in Frankfurt, and it's my great privilege today to perform with Takeshi Moriuchi, who is the Studienleiter here at Oper Frankfurt. It's a position that's kind of hard to describe. He is the head of music at the opera. So all the pianists he supervises them, and he conducts, and he jumps in when the conductor falls ill. He's sort of the master of music in the theater. And so having him at the piano is kind of like having an orchestra. It's awesome. Takeshi and I have put together a little program. I heard that there was some election going on in the United States this week, and it got me thinking about power and the kinds of people who hold power and who seek power, what it's like to lose power. So that's what this program is all about. And we're just going to start off with a few selections from Handel operas. It's funny because Handel operas are among the oldest opera works that are still performed. They're from the early and mid 18th century. But these guys could just as easily be walking the halls of power now in DC or in Pyongyang or in Tehran, anywhere. They would fit right in. So this first guy that we're going to meet, his name is Bayazet, and he is an emperor king who has just lost a war and has been thrown out of power. And when we meet him, he is in chains and he is in terrible spirits. And his friend is like, dude, why don't you man up a little bit and put up a fight? And he says, I don't have a lot of fight in me. I mean, you would see more fight in me, but I'm really worried about what's going to happen to my daughter now that I'm out of power. So it's a way of saying, I would be behaving a totally different way if I didn't love my daughter so much and worry about her. So the first on our program, Forte Lieto from Handel's Tamerlane.
Thank you so much, Sam. Just so our audience knows, I will be putting the complete translations of the lyrics into the chat. But thank you for that introduction, and Toi Toi, have a good show.
called Samson. He is one of the better known figures. Probably most of you have heard of him. I know him as the strongest Jew who ever lived. Handel wrote this opera about the later phase of Samson's life. When we meet him, he's already lost his hair, he's already lost his strength, he's already been betrayed, and he's in chains and he's in a prison cell. And this is the first time we meet the character. He walks on stage and one of his friends says, "Samson, it's really hard to see you like this, man. Tell me, what's the worst part? Is it being weak? Is it being captive? Or is it being blind?" And Samson says, "Oh, that's easy. Losing my sight is the hardest part." Now, what's really cool about this aria is that Handel wrote it while he himself was going blind. So it's almost like you hear this composer, who's, for my money, one of the dramatic masters, talking about what he's going through the lens of this totally different person from biblical times. So this is Total Eclipse from Handel's Samson.
Bravo.
Unmute myself.
One thing I just have to say is, while it's really fun to put a cool program together and everything, I'm just so excited that so many of my friends and family and neighbors, everybody are watching this. It's like, I can't really see many of you right now, but I can feel your energy in the room, and it's a rare treat. Thank you all for joining me. We have a third and final Handel aria for you guys. This one is from one of his most successful operas. It's called Rodelinda, and it is an epic Game of Thrones, double-crossing, triple-crossing. And my character, Grimoaldo, is the usurper to the throne. He has no business ruling, but he's taken it by force, and he treats everybody like they belong to him, and they have to do exactly what he says. And he behaves terribly throughout the opera until this very end scene. This is the last thing we hear him sing, the last extended thing we hear him sing. And it's just driving him crazy. He's got the power, he has the throne, but it doesn't help fill what he's needing. It doesn't fill the void in his heart. So first we hear him just lose it, being so frustrated and angry, and I've got a hell inside my heart. And then he tries to do what any of us should do when we feel that way, just take a little nap. But his conscience is too heavy, he can't sleep. Which is something I can't personally relate to as a parent of a young child. I am tired all the time. You and me, Steve, I see you there. But this is Handel's interpretation of what it feels like to have a guilty conscience take everything from you, even when you have everything.
Bravo.
Surprise! He gets to fall asleep at the end. Speaking of, Takeshi and I are going to take a short break, I think, while Ian serenades you with some piano tunes.
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Sam. Thank you so much, Takeshi. That was just such a wonderful performance. Um, it seemed to have
Thanks.
everything that you suggested in it, and it even had that extra element of a German ambulance siren at the most dramatic moment. I mean, it was a haunting effect. I don't know if we could have
Yeah,
planned
you
that
know,
any
we
better.
paid a lot of euro for that, so I'm glad they timed it right.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sam. Now, as Sam mentioned, he and Takeshi will take a short break, a little intermission entr'acte for them. And in the meanwhile, I wanted to offer you a little bit of piano music as a kind of an entr'acte. Um, this little set of pieces are all examples that I would describe as night music. Throughout the centuries, there has been a kind of tradition of writing pieces called nocturnes, and often we think that the origin of the nocturne lies with Frédéric Chopin, In fact, Chopin was inspired by another composer of the 19th century, an Irish composer by the name of John Field. John Field was one of those pianists who had a very specific sound at the piano, and I think was very influential in Chopin's development as a pianist and as a composer. So the first of this little set that I wanted to share with you is one of Chopin's many nocturnes. Now, these are interesting works. You know, the title Nocturne, like I said, suggests a bit of night music. But it's amazing to me when you look at all of Chopin's nocturnes, what kind of variety there is, what kind of range there is in all of these wonderful pieces. For example, some of them are very calm and placid and have a kind of a meditative air. Some of them are a bit more dance-like. They perhaps suggest a ballroom type scene. And others have moments at least where very frightening, kind of terrifying music comes up, which suggests, you know, perhaps nightmares or the other terrors of the night. The nocturne that I chose to share with you today is one of Chopin's more interesting ones. It begins in this world of sort of warmth and calm and sort of placid expression. Yet somehow by the end of it, everything changes. It is more chaotic. It ends in the minor key. It ends rather forcefully with this kind of operatic moment of drama. And it always has amazed me how Chopin can take us on such an incredible journey over just a few minutes of music. I'd like to suggest something to you as you listen to this. There are moments, I think, in this piece, even though it is so beautiful and sort of luxurious, I think there are moments where you can hear the cracks start to appear. There are a few times when Chopin writes a little interruption into the music. It's not so much an interruption of sound, you know, some unexpected chord or a jarring harmony. Instead, these are interruptions of silence, where a melody seems to be blooming into something and then is abruptly cut off. And these moments, you know, where the sound is taken away from us, in a way those become more distressing to us as listeners than any kind of chord or interruption could be. These little moments of silence, they kind of undermine the stability of this work. And by the end, perhaps that is why the whole thing unravels in this kind of splendid disarray at the end. So I very much hope you enjoy this strange and wonderful nocturne by Frédéric Chopin. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Hey, hello, Michael. Nice to hear you. Thank you all so much. It's, I think Chopin is just one of those composers. If you ask any pianist, Chopin's music is so natural at the piano. And I think for most of us pianists, his music is right at the top of our list for what is both satisfying to play and emotionally engaging and all of that. The next piece that I'll share with you is another example of this kind of style of night music. This next piece is by the Italian composer Ottorino Respighi. Respighi lived later than Chopin. He lived at the very end of the 19th century and into the 20th century. And Respighi, he's one of those composers. He'll probably always best be known for his big orchestral works. Works you may have heard, like the Pines of Rome or the Fountains of Rome. Wonderful pieces with just an enormous orchestration and all of these colors that are conjured out of the orchestra. I was delighted to find that he has a bit of piano music as well, and this little Notturno is one of my favorites. This piece is very much in the calm and placid style of these Chopin lyrical nocturnes, but it also has its own sound. This piece is in the key of G flat major, and if any of you are musicians, you may be a little bit horrified that anything exists in the key of G flat major. I'll tell you, all the keys are flats. Well, to be specific, 6 of them are flats. So I end up spending a lot of my time on the black keys of the piano. But it has a very kind of unique feel to it as well. One thing about this piece that I'll share with you, the first time I played this was for a concert here in San Francisco at the Italian Cultural Institute. It was a program entirely given to Italian composers, and this was what I chose to be my little featured selection by this work by Respighi. After the concert was over, someone came up to me to talk about this piece of music. It was a little Italian woman, and I remember it so well. She said to me, "That Respighi, I tell you, that's what Debussy would have sounded like if he had been born in Italy." So I don't know what you'll think of this, but I think it's a beautiful piece. I hope you enjoy this Notturno by Ottorino Respighi. Thank you very much.
Beautiful.
Thank you all for that. I think you can see why I'm drawn to music like this. I have to say, right here in San Francisco, it is right now a beautiful sunny day, almost noon outside. So it's I think it may be the first time I've played a concert of night music, of nocturnes, on a sunny day around noon. However, perhaps it's an overture to our friends in the European time zones, who are now already in the evening hours. Now, this is the end of my set, so I'll check in with my colleagues. Takeshi, are you and Sam more or less ready to proceed? It looks like that is the case. I'll go ahead and add them back. When Sam joins us again, I think he'll be ready to introduce the next part of his program. I did want to just remind our audience, that the Trinity Alps Chamber Music Festival, which is presenting these live stream concerts, this is an organization that I started 10 years ago. Normally, under normal circumstances, we would be doing live shows involving tours of musicians from all over the world who would come here to California and tour around California with an emphasis on visiting rural communities and communities that don't often have a cultural arts presence, especially with regards to classical music and chamber music. In terms of that mission, what that means is that almost all of our concerts over our 10-year history have been essentially free events. They are open to the public because we want to encourage appreciation and participation in classical chamber music and classical music. The way that we offset that by offering free events is that we invite our audience and our guests to make a contribution, whatever amount they choose, to support this organization and hopefully to support our mission of bringing chamber music and bringing classical music to life. So I hope that this message resonates with you. With our digital concerts here on Zoom, we are doing the same thing where we do not charge ticket prices. Instead, we want just everyone to feel welcome here. However, I do encourage you to make a contribution. The festival is absolutely paying all of our musicians and artists who are guests here. So if you want to support musicians in a time like this, all of these performances that we are offering are an important revenue stream for our musicians and artists, and it'll just help us support our mission of bringing concerts like this to life in the future. It's very easy. If you'd like to make a contribution, just go to our website. That's trinityalpscmf.org, Trinity Alps Chamber Music Festival. There is a little box right on our homepage to do so. If you're interested in a larger gift or making a tax-deductible contribution, that is also an option. That instructions for that can be found on our website. If you're the type of person who still enjoys writing out a check in your most elegant handwriting and posting it in the United States Postal Service mail with a nice stamp, you can also do that. And that's I actually enjoy those. They show up in my mailbox a few weeks later, and it's a little bonus for the music festival. So I hope you'll join us in supporting this, and it'll help us bring to life performances like what Sam is offering for us today. Now, Sam, I'd like you to introduce the second part of your program, because I understand that it is a bit different, not just in style, but in content as well, than the first half.
To a certain extent, yeah. I mean, none of these guys are kings. These are selections from very, very big works, from Wagner's Ring Cycle and Mussorgsky's Boris Godunov. These are like the biggest operas ever written in their respective cultures. Wagner's Ring is massive. It's a magnificent, massive work of art. Its place in art history is impossible to overstate. You can very much divide opera and classical music and music into before Wagner's Ring and after. So in a way, to perform a short selection of it with piano is a little silly, but on the other hand, it's awesome, because that's how good the music is. My character is Loge, better known as Loki. He's an agent of chaos, manipulation, and double dealings. And the king of the gods, Odin, or in these operas called Wotan, who in our language, Wotanstag is Wednesday. That's where that name comes from. Wotan has made a deal with some very strong giants, a construction deal, and he doesn't want to pay. And he says, Logan, get me out of this. Find a way that I don't have to pay these guys. And hijinks ensue. So this character, Loga, skillfully manipulates everybody in the room, all the gods, the giants, the goddesses, and a lowly demigod like me, who would never have any power, suddenly becomes the most important creature in the world.
Bravo.
Yeah. He seems better in German.
Like
Bravo.
the giants refuse to accept the payment. They carry off Freya, the goddess of love and family, in Greek Juno, after whom my dog is named. They carry off Freya to be a hostage until Wotan pays what he said he would pay. And the next section is a pretty good example of why Wagner changed everything. It's like an action film. I stand at the edge of the stage and I tell the audience what's happening while the giants carry the goddess away and they go up the mountains and they go there. It's the kind of thing that doesn't really happen in opera before this. And now we would call it cinematic, but of course they didn't have cinema back then. And this is when Loga has the most fun, I think, because when the goddess goes away, all the gods and goddesses get old and weak because they don't have the special food of the gods that Freya grows. And in this scene, which is like pretty early in this massive 4-evening ring cycle, I successfully foresee how things will end with the downfall of all the gods.
Über Stock und Stein zum Tal schnappten die hin. Durch des Rheines Wasser brachen die Riesen. Fröhlich hängt Freier in Rauen über den Recken. Heina, hei, wie tauben die Tölpel dahin, das Halt haben sie schon. Wohl an Riesenheim zum Markest halten sie ihr Rast. Was sind nun Wotan so wild? Den seligen Göttern, wie geht's? Trägt mich ein Nebel, neckt mich ein Traum. Wie bang und bleich verbrillt ihr so bald. Euch erlischt ihr Wangenlicht. Der Blick eures Auges verblitzt. Frisch mein Floh, noch ist ja früh. Deiner Hand, Donner, entsinkt ja der Hammer. Was ist's mit Fricka? Freut sie sich wenig, obwohl freier von je, knausend die köstliche Frucht. Denn halb so echt nur bin ich, wie selige ihre. Doch ihr setzet alles auf das jüngende Obst, das wussten die Riesen wohl. Auf euer Leben legten sich an, nun sollt wir das warten. Ohne die Äpfel alt und grau, greis und grämlich, welkend zum Spott aller Welt stirbt der Götterstamm.
Bravo.
What's a bit different than Handel? Okay. The last number on our program, I have to confess, my voice is a little tired because I'm used to sitting at home with my son all day and not being on stage. But we have one more song for you, Aria. Again, from the massive opera Boris Godunov, the story of a real-life czar of the same name after Pushkin. There's no work in the Russian operatic literature that's bigger than this. There's like massive choirs everywhere, the orchestra is huge, and all these people are real historical figures. So my character, Shwisky, is very similar to Logan. He's one of these guys who sort of never lies, but never really tells the truth either. He's got something to say to everybody, and in this opera, as in real life, Shwisky wins the Game of Thrones and becomes the Tsar, the next Tsar. But in order to do that, he's got to take care of the main Tsar, the guy who currently has the job, Boris. And he's supposedly great at his job, but he's haunted by this grisly murder he had to commit in order to take the throne. He had to murder the heir, the Tsarevich, an 8-year-old boy. I know that Boris is haunted by this, and I use this to my advantage. He asks me, right before this aria starts, tell me the truth. Did you really see the guy? Is he really dead? Did this kid really die? I can't get it out of my head. Tell me what happened. And I tell him a ghost story of this horrifying thing I saw, and it drives the guy insane.
Bravo, bravo.
It's from the opera Königskinder, and the character is the Königssohn, a prince, the son of the king. And he is going to grow up to be a king, right? And imagine this. This is what this character does. He says, I'm not ready to be king yet. I need to learn humility. And in this opera, in this aria, this moment in this opera, he tries to learn how he's going to learn humility and what's he going to do.
Ist das schwer, ein Bettler sein. Hätt's nimmer gedacht, über eine Nacht schaut mir die Welt ganz anders drein. Hab große Lust, mit einigen Beinen heim zu rennen, nicht mehr die Finger mir verbrennen. Verholen und umholen nach Pennerstadt. Oh, was klemmt mir die Brust? Kränzen, bist ja wie frisch gepflückt, kein Blättchen zerdrückt, kein Köpfchen matt. Und flüstern, geh nicht fort, geh nicht fort. Wissen schwache Blumen sagen, ich war in Zagen, in Fürchten gefallen, vor Bettler Späne. Schäme dich, Junge, du willst ein König werden. Ist mir's vergangen, das stolze Lachen, tönt wieder ernsthaft in die Ohren. Bin ich als Königssohn geboren, zum König muss ich mich selber machen. Aber wie? Dienen ein Jahr, und so ich ein guter Knecht war, aller Demut Meister worden will, dann hab ich rechten Königssinn. Hörst du Kränzen? Ich bleib da. Ja, ja, ich liebe ein
Bravo!
That's right. Oh my God. Amazing.
Bravo,
Thank
Ah.
you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sam. Thank you so much, Takeshi. I wanted also to just take a moment and thank your hosts there in Frankfurt, the Camaleo Art Lounge. I can see the graphic. No. Especially our friend Tomas. Hello, Tomas. Thank you for all of your help today. Bravo. I look forward to when everything is open again. I will make a special trip to Frankfurt just to visit the Camaleo Art Lounge. Perhaps we can hear you live in person someday as well. Well, thank you again. Thank you to everyone who joined us today. I hope that you will join us again. This is the first of 4 programs we have scheduled for the month of November. If you join us in a week's time, we will have a program featuring Bach's Third Cello Suite, played by Carl Knapp. We will hear some original music by the violinist Rosemina Watson. And we will also hear another singer, soprano Jamie Rose Guarin, who will be accompanied by her husband, Carl, on the cello. So next week should be another program. It'll again be a matinee for us here in the United States. I hope you'll join us for that, and perhaps check out the other programs on Trinity Alps, the Chamber Music Festival website. I want to thank you all once again for being here. Everyone stay healthy and stay safe this coming week. And let's go out by offering one last round of applause for our performers, for Sam and Takeshi.
Yes.
Bravo, everyone.
Bravo!
All right.
And
Bravo,
see you,
bravo,
Ian.
bravo.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bravo.
All right. Good night, everyone, or good day.
Thank you.